Hello and welcome to Universal Shipping News presents Incoterms Group C, Main Carriage Paid. You need to know what Incoterms mean? You're in the right place. In previous videos, we covered Incoterms Groups E and F. This video defines all the Incoterms in Group C. That means we're covering CFR, CIF, CPT, and CIP. Terms from this group have one thing in common. They are all terms used when the seller can arrange to pay all the fees up to delivery at a foreign port. CFR, cost and freight, also known as CNF or CNF. CFR means that the seller covers all the costs of bringing goods from their origin to the port of destination, including carriage costs and clearing the goods for export, but not including the insurance. Even though the seller takes care of the actual loading and transportation of goods up to the port of destination, the buyer pays the insurance and therefore assumes the risk from the moment the goods are loaded onto the vessel. This term is used exclusively for maritime and inland waterway trade. CIF, cost, insurance, and freight. CIF is identical to CFR except that the seller also covers insurance. With a CIF arrangement, the seller, not the buyer, assumes the risk and therefore is responsible for purchasing insurance for the goods during the transit from origin to the port of destination. CIF also applies solely to maritime and inland waterway trade. However, CIF may not be appropriate where the goods are handed over to the carrier before they are loaded on the vessel, which is the usual container scenario. CPT, Carriage Paid To. This Incoterm is sometimes also known as DPC. CPT indicates that the seller assumes most of the cost of transportation of the goods, including export fees, carriage charges, and fees at the port of destination. Seller does not pay for insurance. That is the buyer's obligation. The moment that the risk of loss or damage is transferred from seller to buyer is when the goods are loaded onto the first carrier vessel, despite the seller paying for the carriage charges. CPT can be used for all modes of transportation, including container or roll-on, roll-off traffic. CIP, Carriage and Insurance Paid To. CIP is much like CPT in that the seller assumes most of the costs of transportation, including export fees, carriage charges, and fees at the port of destination. For CIP arrangements, however, the seller is responsible for purchasing insurance for the goods during the carriage. While the seller is required to buy insurance for the carriage, the risk of loss or damage is transferred from seller to buyer when the goods are loaded onto the first carrier vessel. CIP can be used for all modes of transport, but is most common for intermodal or container shipping. That's it for Incoterms Group C. In the next video, we'll cover Group D. For more about Incoterms and all of your international shipping needs, go to universalcargo.com. Until next time, stay in ship shape.